Coffeezilla's been pumping the Epstein biz. Look at this. He wants to bury the Epstein files. 1.7 million views. Raw Epstein footage was modified. 1.4 million views. The worst cover-up of my lifetime. 2.9 million views. The story keeps changing. 1.9 million views. He does a daily drop every day, and it goes crazy. Which, under different circumstances, I would criticize other content creators for farming this, but I wouldn't say that about Coffeezilla, because Coffeezilla has been at the forefront of covering the criminal enterprise of the Trump administration, at least from his immediate place of knowledge. Like when it comes to cryptocurrency schemes and stuff, he has never stopped covering that shit. He is actually, it's been kind of funny watching him just like lose his mind at like how very openly illegal and criminal the Trump administration is, and yet no one seemingly cares. So I don't think he's like a bandwagoner on this issue. He has not shied away from doing actually like real journalism on the Trump stuff. For other slop tubers though, they obviously have either shied away from saying anything mean about Donald Trump because they know what their audience wants, and this is their like break off point because they recognize that the you know, it's time to jump ship, and they're little rats that realize that the Titanic is sinking, or they're still trying to do a shitty job of like defending Trump even. Do you think you and Coffee might ever talk? I do talk to him, just not on camera.
Prosecutor, Trump is tripling, quadrupling down on the idea that it's all a big hoax, despite a lot of his party campaigning on this.
It was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work.
That's right. If you care about accountability for a trafficking ring, you're doing the work of the Democrats, apparently, and Trump doesn't want your support. This is another post from Truth Social where Trump says that it's a scam we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, despite him being one of the people heavily trafficking in this, and saying, my past supporters have bought into this hook, line, and sinker. Clearly saying, if you care about the release of the Epstein files, you're not a real supporter of Trump anymore. You're a past supporter. Saying about his own supporters, let these weaklings continue because I don't want their support anymore. This obviously felt like a huge betrayal to a lot of the people who have supported Trump and expected him to come through on this promise. The last thing most of them were holding on to was the idea of a special prosecutor who could go into the Epstein case and try to get some transparency. In fact, it was reported that Donald Trump was okay with appointing a special prosecutor. This was according to John Solomon, who claimed this in an interview.
Any prompting, without me even asking yet, he says, I also think if that has a special prosecutor, that prosecutor should just look at anything credible about Jeffrey Epstein, and let's get this resolved. Let's get the American people the most transparency. Now, what does that mean? If there's a special prosecutor, this gets out of Pam Body's hands, it goes to an independent person, they look at it, they release what they can about it, and they tell the American people whatever the grand jury can squeeze out of it.
Now, this had many people saying, oh, this is great news, this will bring accountability, transparency. Here's Benny Johnson talking.
Bro, the other side of this, by the way, is that I don't even think they can do that, because if like there was a special prosecutor who would obviously be deeply connected to Donald Trump, and he came out and he did this like wishy-washy bullshit, maybe like offered a little bit additional information, people would be like, okay, you didn't give us anything, fuck you. So like there's that side of the story as well. Even if you do actually get a special prosecutor involved, put together a report that reveals at least like whatever is not damaging to some of our billionaire elites, I don't think it would work.
About it.
There's been a dramatic change in approach. Very powerful people inside the administration are pushing for a special counsel, full press briefings on Epstein findings, and so on. And this is because of our voices that cannot be ignored.
Right, voices that cannot be ignored, except they were just today by Caroline Leavitt, who says Trump is not in favor of a special prosecutor at all. It's not going to happen.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case.
It's pretty funny that there is no messaging discipline on this side too. Normally the Republican communication strategy is airtight. Trump says something, you hear it being rehashed a million times over from from Fox News all the way down to like a 57-person subscriber YouTube page, you know? In this issue, Trump says something and everyone on the independent sphere that actually has to be accountable to their audiences immediately panic. And because they panic in this situation, because they're panicins, they start over-promising, where they're like, oh, there'll be a special investigator, a special prosecutor, I promise. And then Trump's like, nope, no No special prosecutor at all. No investigation. It's done. It's a hoax. And if you care about it, you're stupid. And then they're like, oh, he didn't mean that. He didn't mean that you're stupid. He meant that, like, you're actually brilliant. I promise. He's like, no, I meant you're stupid. And then he'll even call up people who, again, are at least like a little bit more accountable or have to be more accountable to their audiences because they're, you know, approachable, because they're online content creators. They're not fucking Fox News commentators. And you'll call them up and be like, shut the fuck up about Jeffrey Epstein.
Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure.
Wow, that's how he feels. He feels like, we don't need more transparency. We don't need more accountability. We need to hush this up, okay? Trump has also responded when asked that he has nothing to do with a special investigation.
President Trump, would you consider appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it, guys. We've already done the investigation, and you should be pleased with what we put out. This was also said by Trump himself, the idea that we've already given you everything credible.
She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that?
Right. She's given us all the credible information. If she finds more, she will give us more, but we already got it. If you remember, Pam Bondi already gave us the phase 1, which just included a lot of already released information. At the time, they called this the first phase, which sheds light on Epstein's extensive network, an extensive network that now includes 2 people,
Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That's it. No one else. Please stop. That's the other side of this, like, where they literally, the phase 1 implies that there's supposed to be more phases. You don't just go, this is the phase 1 of the revelation, and then be like, there is no phase 2. Phase 2 is actually, fuck you, you're stupid. And also, we knew all along that it was the Democrats that wrote the list, and it was fake anyway. So we actually delivered a fake list that the Democrats wrote on our phase 1 transparency documents. I hope they drop the whole story eventually. I hope that no one drops this story, especially because this stuff is tied back to, in my opinion, a lot of the fucking illicit things that intelligence agencies have done, whether it be the Mossad or the CIA. And I do want shady billionaires and former heads of state and former intelligence, former heads of intelligence to be held accountable. Oh, you meant drop the whole story eventually, as in like, oh, drop the files, like actually release the files. Got it. I misunderstood. Well, I didn't misunderstand. You wrote that in the worst possible way. Like, you made it seem like they're dropping an album.
And Ghislaine Maxwell, really extensive. Kash Patel, by the way, quoted saying there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, except, of course, all the incredible information, right? You have credible information, you have incredible information that they're gonna hide from us, I guess. With these influencers who had the binder, I guess this is part of the Democrat hoax. Can't understand why they would do that. Now, as a rewind though, what has really the FBI DOJ released that wasn't already public? Well, one of the biggest things was the tape, right? The tape of the prison cell, which actually wasn't the prison cell. It was the common area, which couldn't see Epstein's cell, which definitively proves everything. Except not only did it not show Epstein's cell, not only were there blind spots in the tape, we also had a Wired report showing that it was a modified file. This was something that went into Premiere Pro, was saved multiple times. We don't know what was changed, if anything. But now we have new reporting from Wired saying that Epstein's prison video had nearly 3 minutes cut out, which started at the, quote, missing minute. So I ask again, what credible information has really been released? The only thing that's been released is, ironically, not credible. Not only is this great for people like
this is great transparency, dude.
Prince Andrew, who's now traveling around. Guess who else this is great for? Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now appealing her whole conviction on the grounds that the government already gave her a non-prosecution agreement, or more specifically, Epstein a non-prosecution agreement. And we have this statement from Ghislaine Maxwell's family and her counsel of record saying, quote, "I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. Judges have previously dismissed her lawyers' arguments that she should have never been prosecuted because of a weird agreement drafted more than 15 years ago. But now, of course, this is at play again, given all the recent revelations and the fact that the family seems pretty directly to be appealing to Trump, which is an interesting turn of events if Maxwell has anything on him or someone else in power. They actually say
what's crazy about the Ghislaine stuff also is that like she's talking like she can't get, you know what I mean? I don't know where she's getting this confidence that she might not have a mishap. Like, what leads you to believe that you won't also feel really sad all of a sudden? You know what I mean?
explicitly he's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree when the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison based on a promise that the U.S. government made and broke. This itself raises large concerns given that Trump not only seems to want the Epstein thing to go away, but also that he's wished Maxwell well many times.
Yeah, this part is fucking nutty. I mean, the whole, I wish her well. This is like one of, I'm surprised, like, this is the only place we've seen it. Like, Coffeezilla is one of the only places outside of myself that is like routinely covering Trump talking about Ghislaine Maxwell like a fucking scorned lover.
Maxwell is in prison. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
Can you explain who she is and how she's related to Epstein? Ghislaine Maxwell is the second in command.
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty.
So pretty clearly,
and that's the person, Ghislaine Maxwell, that Donald Trump is talking this way about.
The president seems to be extending his sympathies to Maxwell in very bizarre terms when asked, hey, do you think this person's going to turn in rich and powerful people? Well, we wish her well. So that worries me when then the Maxwell family and her lawyer are pretty explicitly appealing to the president, who wished her well, saying, hey, this whole thing should be barred because of Epstein's former agreement with the prosecutors. Speaking of prosecutors, by the way, Maureen Comey was just fired by the DOJ, with many speculating this is an order that comes from the top, from Trump. Now, Maureen was the prosecutor in the Diddy, Epstein, and Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell cases, with some people saying the timing is too coincidental with the whole Epstein investigation and Maureen Comey maybe knowing something about it. The other way to look at this is, of course, that Trump has hated James Comey, her father, for a very long time. So it could be the case this is a revenge firing. It could be over the handling of the Diddy trial. Or, again, it could be over the Epstein-Maxwell cases. But on the whole, what we all want is just more accountability, more transparency. We want these people to release the full files. So on that, I'm going to explore a couple leads that maybe will pan out. There's been a push by the House to have the Epstein files released. This has now become a bipartisan supported thing. Previously, it was voted against, but now they're trying to force a vote. I've kind of stated that I'm not sure that this is going to get somewhere. I hope it does, though, just to be clear. I hope they release it. I think it's been covered up for so long. I guess I'm so cynical about it. But I guess in the words of Trump, I wish them well. We wish the House well in trying to release it. I will say for the millionth time, this is not a left or right.
She is horrendous at her job. Just all pedos get away. This is nepotism at its best. What are you talking about? The Diddy one was like fucked up, but they did successfully prosecute Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't know about her being horrendous at her job. like you could say, given the deep ties that Epstein and Ghislaine have to the intelligence community, her job required her to do this cover up. Certainly.
Issue. This is the people versus the There's also this report from the New York Times about the $1.5 billion they're trying to chase down. This was handled by JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank. These both paid fines for their involvement in moving money for Jeffrey Epstein. Here, the legislators are trying to actually chase down some of the funds. Notably, the New York Times reports that there was a huge suspicious activity report, also called a SAR, reviewed by the congressional team that was filed in late.
Hasan, why do you preach free speech but ban people so easily in chat? Easy question, easy answer. Freedom of speech is for the government. Like, you know, when the government tries to arrest someone, prosecute someone for just their speech, like they did with Mahmoud Khalil, or even falsely detaining people at Customs and Border Patrol for being a political dissident like myself, that is actually a violation of the First Amendment. If you come into this chat, many Twitch streamers have very different restrictions on how they want to conduct their chats. I'm a very transparent person, so I will reveal this information to you once again. For us, because there are a lot of hate raids that happen and a lot of bots that come in and write like insane shit, we simply have a follow restriction. All you need to do under normal circumstances is follow for 10 minutes and you can write whatever the fuck you want in the chat. Of course, if you stir shit up and come in here to falsely smear me or take advantage of my charitability and try to redirect the attention to yourself, you might get banned. Now we've upped the ante. It's no longer 10 minutes because we get hate rated quite a bit. So now it's 1 day. You have to be following for 1 day or subscribe. Having said that, however, many other content creators in this space don't really even look at their chat for understandable reasons. I like to look at my chat and have a back and forth conversation, even though there are 40,000 people in here. And I do that when there are 300,000 or 400,000 people in here. It doesn't fucking matter, right? I have had 300,000 people in here, and I've had this same exact back and forth with chatters. And the reason for that is because I value the back and forth that I can have with people, even if some people try to take advantage of that dynamic. But in order to foster good communication and ensure that there's an audience that's coming in that is charitable, that is invested in learning about new things, or maybe even approaching a subject matter from an angle that they never had considered before, I have to sometimes, get the shit stirrers out of here.
2019 by JP Morgan for $1.1 billion. The report covered 4,700 transactions dating back to 2003, including payment.
Hasan Piker's an emotional masochist. That's why he reached out so much. No, I don't. I mean, there's a little bit of that for sure, but that's not the primary reason. I read chat because I want to foster good back and forth conversations. There are a million different opinions at any given point throughout the day that I can encounter. This is the perfect way to address people's questions, because I know for a fact that for every person that asks a question, there are probably 10,000 people that might not know the answer to that question and might actually learn something from the way that I answer that question. That's why I try to not have any sort of safeguards beyond the obvious ones like hate speech and narcissistic derailers.
Payments to women from Belarus, Russia, Turkmenistan. Many of Epstein's victims included young women from Eastern European countries. So I will say, as many people have, follow the money is a great idea in a case like this, where Jeffrey Epstein had a bunch of mysterious wealth. Unfortunately, I have to say it's an uphill battle when the most powerful person in America, Donald Trump, seems dead set on closing these files and trying to get it to all go away. And I also encourage people to be suspicious of when a president says something is a hoax.
Oliver Darcy rips the Band-Aid off of what everyone's been quietly talking about. The Wall Street Journal is working on a story about President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. I'm told that at least one DOJ reporter is on the story and that they reached out to the White House around 48 hours ago. The Wall Street Journal relies on documentation. Oh, God. I can't take a fucking day off. Dude! That is fucking annoying. Open Presence, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Oh, my God. Bombshell reporting coming from Wall Street Journal that goes into detail with the ties that the Trump administration has, with Trump himself has with Jeffrey Epstein coming out soon.
Hoax, despite the fact he said for years there are powerful people implicated in these files, even saying that he was going to be transparent, there was going to be a wave of accountability, only now they're covering it all up. They want you to trust them, and if you don't, you're stupid and or a weakling.